Welcome back to part 3. Now we're at the phase we're going to pull the lower intake. We really don't have a choice. We're going to replace that rear thermostat. There's just nowhere to get in through to get to the 2 bolts. The thermostat itself is relatively easy to replace. Some of you might say, why don't you just leave it if it wasn't giving you any trouble? And the problem is, if I do, guess what goes next? Thermostat. I don't recommend people do this job unless they have adequate repair experience. Like, if this is your first teardown, don't do it. Okay? Even for me, as a 25-year tech doing this for a living, you know, I've been turning wrenches since I was 15. This thing is still a complicated monster. I'm going to show you here in a sec what I'm talking about, but there's actually another butterfly system in the lower intake. So this thing has 2 sets of butterflies, not 1. And the thing that's going to trap a bunch of people up trying to do this repair is the vacuum lines. You put one in the wrong spot, you're liable to open a valve or shut a valve, and then this thing won't start. After you get it all put back together, you're going to scratch your head and wonder why. So before you pull this lower intake, take pictures. I cannot stress that enough. Take pictures, because these vacuum lines on here, you know, it may seem like all vacuum comes from the same place. True, but there is timed vacuum in this engine. There's solenoids that control vacuum operation. So you put the timed on a normally open, timed on a normally closed, you're going to do something, and you're going to have a definite drivability issue. Alright, I don't know if the camera caught it, but we're going to take some pictures of some vacuum lines, because this not only has one pressure regulator, it has 2. And you definitely don't want to get them interchanged, because one's for flow in, one is for return path back. So I'm going to take some pictures. I'm going to show them along the screen in case you've torn yours apart. Didn't take pictures. You can use this for a reference. I don't know if this will cover all the 3.5s, but at least as far as the QX4s from 1997 through 03, this is what our vacuum diagram consists of. Alright, instead of disconnecting the vacuum at the T here, we're just going to disconnect them here. You've got to be thinking about reassembly when you're doing teardown. It's just real quick, just, you know, disconnect everything and then not have a clue when you put it back together. We don't do that. The one hose I was talking about that's going to be tricky is down there is a butterfly system, and the port for it is right here. I have it actually labeled L2L, so when I put it back together I'll know. One thing about the QX4 I found unique is that it has a vacuum reserve tank. Now, back in the days we used to have these up there up on the hood, but this one has 2 solenoids, 2 sets of switches, and this is what I'm talking about. You hook left to the right, right to the left. Your vacuum's not going to work when the computer calls commands for it. So this is one of those things where you have to be thinking about reassembly when you're doing teardown. So I'm just going to take a quick view with the camera so I know where things go when I put it back together. Next thing you know, we're going to label our fuel injection wires. The easiest way to tell which cylinder one is the one closest to you. So the fuel injector closest to us, that's 1, 3, 5. We have 2, 4, 6. Now, I'm going to label that for the sake of the video. Normally, if I was just doing teardown and I wasn't on camera, I'd just run through it, because, you know, I pretty much know when you lay it back forward which one goes where. But in this case, because it is complicated, we are going to label them. Alright, so in preparation of taking off the fuel rail, we're going to leave it connected to the injectors. We're going to pop this thing up as one assembly. We're going to pull these, and we're going to roll it over. I don't want to undo, I don't want to have to replace O-rings. Alright, got that off. Now we're going to disconnect the fuel injector connectors. See if these are going to be easy to come off. Most of the time they're pretty easy to come off, but sometimes you don't want to just start yanking and pulling. I don't know how many texts I've seen just yank, 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 yank. Why ain't it coming off? Well, there's a clip there. And next thing you know, you got a misfire because your injector isn't firing.
I wonder if I pull it off, it's going to work.
I wonder if I pull any harder on the wires, it'll come off.
Yeah, you're going to break it.
Okay, I've got one safety connector there. We'll deal with that in a sec.
That kind of applies to computers. Don't yank it off, and don't put it in hard. And what happened?
What happened? It was 150,000 miles. That's what happened.
Dude, I wish we could like wash an engine, but you can't do that.
Yeah, I'd rather keep it dirty because you get water and things and it don't fire off.
Yeah, I know. I like the look of a new engine.
Oh, I do too. Detailed engine.
Some people detail the engines. I just don't know how they do it.
Oh, they're real meticulous about it. I don't have that kind of patience.
I don't know either. You'll get as far from me as the inside or the inside of the interior and the seats and everything else. Maybe the body. Yeah.
Oh, these clips. One down and 3 to go.
Oh, 3 to go. Oh boy. I don't see truck in this thing.
Okay, so we got the first rail off. Wow.
First one?
First one now. Let's see how this one connects. Looks like we don't have a front connector, which makes me happy.
I don't get. So if you're working, what kind of engine is this?
This is a V6.
V6. But what can it go on? What cars does it have?
It went in a lot of things from what I was reading. This engine can actually go into front wheel drive vans.
Can it go into 350s and 70s?
Well, it did. They had a version
So
that
they
went in
had-
there, yeah.
But they didn't have it complicated as this, right?
Oh no, it was just as complicated.
So hard to get a 370Z would have the same engine.
Yeah, it might have a different intake manifold system as far as the engine goes.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think I'll be getting that anytime soon.
Alright, we're going to pull the brackets and keep everything whole. Well, that's been off before. And at this point, I'd start labeling stuff. I don't normally do that, but with this, we're making an exception. Okay, so you can see now we got that moving. Okay, so that's one part of the rail free. Now this back one, that one looks like it could be a little interesting. So,
Where's the back one? I don't know where that is.
put that back and label it. Alright, we're at the fuel injection rail. This is one complete rail and it is not flexible. So definitely have to be careful. And the other hose we're going to have to get out of the way so we can roll this is part of the PCV fresh air. A lot of these hoses, unfortunately, you're going to have to replace if you go in this deep with this car. They do not want to come off.
Did we already replace them one time?
No. This is the deepest I've had to get into this car ever. It's a testament to good technology, but it's also really expensive when it has to be gone in this deep. I guess this hose is extremely brittle.
Maybe they need to be replaced.
Yeah, you can see how this is cracked.
Hold on, let me see. Yep.
So that hose is getting replaced. And these are molded hoses, so don't think you're just going O'Reilly's. Yeah, see how that one just cracked?
Let's see.
So yeah, this hose gets replaced with the factory part. I'm gonna tell you, some of these hoses are really hard to track down. See anything else in our way? Looking good. Now we just have to pop the hold down bracket and then we start pulling up. Where do I see you bolt? It's on the inside here. Number 12. Okay, that's one. There's two. Now some of you might be asking yourself, why aren't you using power tools? We're not using power tools because we don't want to break bolts. Because I'm going to tell you what, I hate fixing broken bolts. And especially if it's just a little bit of handwork and you don't break bolts. And my other recommendation, if you're going to do this kind of repair to this QX4, do it inside of a shop that's warm. Don't try to attempt this repair when it's 30 degrees outside. You will break bolts. Okay, so we're going to put our bolts in the same bag as the EFI pressure regulator. Want to keep the fuel injection stuff in the same bag, make it easier for reassembly. Always thinking ahead. Okay, now on the driver's or passenger's side rail, got a bolt here, we got a bolt here. Oh boy. And I don't want to be chasing bolts either. That's another reason why I'm being extra careful. I had to give this engine work a rating. I'm going to give this 10 out of 10.
Why?
Just because this is one complicated mother. Especially if this is your first teardown. I would not recommend it for someone just starting in the industry.
Me specifically.
Yes.
I don't think I would ever want to touch this thing ever.
Well, I knew when I bought this car I was going to have to go in deep with it because I just looked at the maintenance sheet and something around 150,000 miles. This was part of regular maintenance, actually.
Someone opens this and says, wow, I like this.
Well, they hide it with that great intake. Oh, that looks like a simple engine.
Yeah. Until
Fuel injector goes out and intake leaks. How you get a misfire. Something. Alright, now I'm going to grab a flashlight. Because one thing I'm going to tell you, don't just start ripping and pulling it. This is the difference between a technician and a mechanic work. Okay, I don't see any other holders.
here we go. Can he get it out?
Okay, not too bad. Okay, one side of the rail's out. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, we're out.
That was better than the intake.
This part I was kind of sweating last night and I was thinking about it, like, man.
Yeah, well, you should have been sweating about the intake.
I ain't worried about the intake. Okay, we're free. As much as I didn't want to, I wanted to roll it over, but we're not going to do that. I guess we're just going to do it there.
Look, it's naked. Looks clean.
Alright, before you go trying to pull this intake, you see all that dirt there? The camera can pick it up too well. Right there, suck all that out. And let me tell you why. You open this intake up and that gets in the cylinder, guess what? Now you got a dead hole. Alright, so let me get a shot back in there because I also see some other stuff that's falling. This is a good time where cleanliness next to godliness definitely applies. So we'll be back with you after we get this thing cleaned up. Alright, next we're going to unload the manifold bolts, but we're going to go from the inside out, which I'm sure is most likely the tightening sequence. Let's see if this has been off before. I don't know. Now we're keeping all of our fuel injection stuff, so like manifold, all the lower stuff in one bag. Because, you know, you're going to end up with a bucket full of parts and not know where nothing goes. Leave yourself a road map. Be meticulous. If you actually watch, there's videos out there on how Nissan builders build their engines, and let me tell you what, that is discipline. That is love for the art of engines.
Nissans. Wait, because Infiniti is like, how? Let's make something that is just as complicated as a Nissan that we have.
Well, Infiniti doesn't build their own engines.
I know.
They stench off a Hyundai, Mitsubishi, Nissan.
That's why Kia has a Mitsubishi 2000 GT or so, whatever that is.
Okay, we're gonna go to the back. Ooh.
What?
Those come off. Well, don't want to lose those in the engine. Road map. Okay, we got one here. You know, I felt it where, yeah, there you are. Now when we go to put this back together, I will be showing pictures of sequences and torque specs. Don't worry about that. I'll have you there. Our videos may be long, but at least they're thorough and detailed. Some people like that, most people don't. Whatever. Ooh. Yeah, I'm going to say I think this lower intake hasn't been off, but I know the upper was. Nissan does not use blue Loctite.
Isn't it white?
Yeah, they'll use like a white primer. White type of Loctite, but not blue. Blue's when American hands work on it. Alright, we'll go to the back. That's how you know it's never been off. Well, looks like we've got a holder in the back to deal with. And it's zip tied. That looks like an American zip tie there. And one more black thing. Whew. Okay, now go to the front. I think we got the front ones, one more here, and then one in the back, and we've successfully taken this off using the most likely torque spec. Oh, that one was loose. Maybe this thing has been off. It's hard to say. See when we get this intake gasket off, see if it's an original Nissan or a Mahal or Felpro. A couple years after we owned this, I did hear a vacuum leak, and it was only in the summertime, and the trim numbers weren't too bad. We're adding about 6. So 6 probably means we got a little bit of a vacuum leak. Not bad enough, but still this thing does not get good gas mileage. One thing that a lot of people write in about it. Yeah, that one was loose. So if I had my air leak and I heard it in the back, this is probably where it was. This is why it's important to get the torque specs and a very accurate torque wrench. The days of just screwing bolts down until they stop are over. Okay, let's make sure we got all our bolts. I got this thing. Look at that. She's ready to go. Except for this deal in the back. Alright, we're going to lift up the lower intake. And I think for now we're just going to roll it over. Just got a little carbon buildup. Alright, let's see this gasket. The rest of these match. Yeah, I would have to say this is probably a replacement. Try and take this off so I don't have to do a bunch of cleaning, but this is odd. That's odd to me. Let's see when we get our Mahal gaskets out if they've actually provisioned this. Because there's no bolt there. The bolt's right here and right here. Huh. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you think this has been done before. I'm going to do a little bit of cleaning of this intake though, but I got this wire right here to deal with. So let me get back with you on that one. I guess we'll take the other one off real quick on camera. Let me get it. Okay. Yeah, she is getting a little clogged up. Well, this one's the same way. Look right there.
Yeah.
But look, it's cracked.
Let me zoom in.
And some issues on. Yeah, this lower intake definitely need to be done. Whether it's been done once before, couldn't tell you. Okay, come on. Don't break on it. There we go. Here, come here, look at this. It's actually flaking some metal off. Huh. Yeah, these lower intakes are definitely done. Okay, well, I'll do some cleaning and I'll get back with you on the camera.